This is Sue and Glenda. Am I saying that right, Sue?
I just put the abbreviation, but it's Suli. Good to meet you, Jay. Suli. I'm gonna spell it out.
Oh, Suli. How you doing, Suli?
Good to meet you, Jay.
Nice to meet you. Okay. And we have Glenda as well. Hi, Glenda.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. And please don't mind me. I like to have a snack while I do these office hours.
Enjoy.
So as we get started, Suli and Glenda, if you guys wouldn't mind, quickly introduce yourselves.
So I had just had a meeting with Saul, and I don't know how to pronounce their last name, and they were the one who shared the link for this meeting. I am a software engineer. I live in Boston, Mass, the US. I don't know where everyone is located, but I want to start learning more cloud native and learn about the meeting. I know is tailored more in education, so I wanted to see how we can all learn. So. Good to meet everyone.
Yeah, so my name is Glenda. I am a security engineer mentee. I am a recent graduate, and Yesenia actually shared the link with me, so that's why I'm here, just to know more.
You see that Sal and Yesenia have joined. And please pronounce your name. I don't want to hack your name up. I'm Salmia?
It's Salmia.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Samuel. Another.
Hi guys. I'm also an Alpha Omega mentee for this summer. I'm on the software security research team compared to the engineering team, and yeah, I'm really excited to meet you guys and get to learn more.
Excellent. Well, very nice to have all of you. And I spent a lot of time in Boston, Suli.
Oh, you have? Where are you located?
I'm in California.
Okay. Do you like
it? I spent a lot of time.
Do you like Boston? We haven't been consistent with the weather lately, but you should definitely come by again.
It's a love-hate relationship with Boston. It's a love-hate relationship. When I was in Boston, there was still a lot of race riots between South Boston, North Boston, and where I lived at, in this little tiny ghetto called Roxbury.
Oh, I actually lived in Roxbury.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things have changed. It's been diversified a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Gentrified, gentrified. So a lot of the cities in Boston has been gentrified, a lot of buildings and stuff. I live in Chelsea, so I don't know if you're familiar with the area. So
I'm familiar with
very diverse
and all of its surrounding areas. I'm talking about as deep as New Bedford, going out that way, all the way up into Lawrence, all the way down into.
Wow.
Yeah, I know all Somerville, Chelsea, the Brock. I know all that stuff. I know Everett.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like when I mentioned Chelsea, people don't know where that is. Like I had to kind of pinpoint like how far it is from Boston. But that's awesome. And I do have a love and hate relationship with Boston, but mainly because of the weather.
It's been kind of inconsistent lately.
You know, the weather's not different anywhere else. It's all the same. Just flip it, bounce it, all the same, except you get hot, real hot in certain places, but other than that, no different.
Yes, it is, Jay. Oh, hi. The Boston humidity is terrible.
And it's just been raining all day too. I'm like, are we gonna have a summer this year? It's just been, it's been really bad.
All right.
Well, all right, we got a full room today.
Mm-hmm.
A full room today. It's all right. You may have Yesenia to thank for that. You guys are reporting into Yesenia, so I guess you're joining for that reason.
Yeah, I let them know the the gem of information that's in this call when it comes to moving their careers and interviewing and resumes. So we're missing stand-up to come join and allow them to ask their questions and get really insight on how to grow themselves.
Well, by all means, ask your questions. Oh yeah, Sal, the thing for Suli. Suli mentioned, Sal, you were the one that gave her the
Roping
link.
them in from the internet.
By all means, ask the questions. Ask away. Let's get started. Ask away.
I'm gonna ask it since we started. I am very new, so I would like to learn like the focus of the meeting, like the goal of the meeting, so I can kind of understand a little bit more.
This is office hours, meaning you come in, you're new to software engineering, you're new to being you're a new developer, you're still in school even, you're considering a career in cybersecurity of some sort, you're considering a career in software or service development, and you want some direction on where you want to go in your career, the things that you should be interested in, the things you think you're interested in, you're not sure, interviewing companies, all that kind of stuff. The amount of knowledge on this call, given that we've all worked across the sphere of software, service, cyber, information security. I mean, I tell people I was information security before it was sexy, and every part of that is true. Every part of that's true. So on this call, we have the capability of giving you a solid direction, and that's what this is for. So there's no agenda. The agenda is whatever you make it in real time right here on the call.
Well,
I can start off a topic piece, if anything. I've been talking with my mentees on their resume, their interviewing, but also the job hunting pieces and how to establish non-negotiables when it comes to finding your next career goal. So Sal, Jay, Christine, if you can talk a little bit more on when you're looking for your next goal, what are some of the non-negotiables that you set in place to make sure you land in the right position?
So I'll start. Now, I'm going to speak from a place of time in the game, and then I'll Tarantino it and go back to the beginning. At this point in time, I don't work for a company. I interview and I look for that leader. And if I don't have a warm and fuzzy about the person that leads the team that I'll be working for or whatever it is, that's not the place for me. I also look for meaningful work. One of the things that I usually tell my mentees when they're deciding on what colleges to go to, or if they're in college and they're deciding on majors, I say, well, what is it that you are passionate about? And then using your passion, what do you think will put a paycheck in your pocket? Now, there's a third part to that. What is it that you love? Now, I do that because I say, take 3 of those things. There could be 3 different things, by the way. One allows you to do the other, which will ultimately allow you to do the other. And then I say, build your plan, build your timeline. Now, Tarantinoing it, coming out into the workforce. This would be a good one to discuss live because the questions you'll get is Christine just put that in the chat. Tarantinoing it, when you're just starting out, non-negotiables, a safe work environment. The end. You shouldn't be saying no to a damn thing. Pay your dues. Pay your dues. You shouldn't be saying no to anything. Everything is relevant. Everything is important. Everything, you'll be surprised about that one menial task. And now I'm speaking, so the reason why I'm saying it like this is because, dare I say, you guys' generation, I hate doing that, but I love it at the same time. Instant gratification is real. Everybody wants to do something grown and sexy. But you got to get grown and sexy first. You got to grow up first, right? You'll be surprised about the small little menial tasks that you think are, why can't I just do this over here? No, you'd be surprised of how that little small menial task, for instance, spreadsheet entry. I don't know if that's still a thing, but you'll be surprised of how the little small menial tasks you learn today could make your life 1,000 times easier later on. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised about the job that you get that is gonna work you like a dog. Like you're doing everything. You're constant, weights on your shoulders. You're working 14 hours a day. You'll be surprised of how that will help you. You know, there's a old saying goes, when you start making some real money in the game, and you're getting that salary and you're negotiating that salary, and you say, hey, you're not paying for the work that I'm doing for you today. You're paying for the 20 years of experience it took me to do this 4-hour task in 15 minutes, right? But you can only get that experience through it first taking 8 hours to do, right? So a 4-hour task take you 8 hours to do in the beginning because you don't know nothing, right? For 10 to 15 years down the road, for that task to take you 15 minutes, right? Let it take the 8 hours and let it hurt. Let that hurt, build that muscle, right? So my advice when it comes, like I said, Tarantinoing it, at this point in my career, I don't work for a company I can give a damn. I work for a leader that provides me an environment where I could be as creative as I want to be and do the best work that I want to do, and work in the places and meet the people that I want to meet so that I can do the best work and be as creative as well, because I have the experience to do it. In the beginning, how I got here, doing those menial tasks, saying yes to every damn thing. I didn't care what it was, say yes and learn it. Excuse me, say yes and learn it later. Can you do this? Absolutely. And I'll give you a saying, don't worry, you can keep it. There's nothing I can't do. There's nothing on the face of this damn earth that I can't do. I can build homes, I can build buildings, skyscrapers, I can garden, I can plant, I can do all kinds of things. Why? Because there's nothing I'm not willing to learn. Hold on to that. Hold on to that, and everything else falls into place. I'm done. Somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really it is like at the end of the day, so when I take on and I advise people, I typically take them on for 3 months. And there's a couple of things. I have to train them to think about not burning out, right? So like the first month is literally project management for pre-burnout engineers. So what you have to be able to demonstrate, what I really look for in a good hire right now, I need someone who can project manage themselves and who demonstrates that. You can do that really easily. So a couple of things, as you're looking for jobs or have an interview or have something in place, I always do one thing when I first get to a place. I mean, I'm trained both in signal processing and in contract law. So I care a lot about my contracts. I read them. I have a specific clause, no matter what. I have my specific language that states 2 things. 1, I work remotely, period. And what that means is no, there is no requirement to coming to any office at any time. That's what that means. That's it. Because you can get creep. You can get a scope creep if it's not explicitly defined. Secondarily, you can, and probably should at this stage, state that any projects that you work on outside of working hours, if not affiliated in any way to your work projects, are yours. They are your IP. Now, this is it's already inherent if you are putting licenses on your toy projects. You can put a README out there, put a license on it, but you also have to state that explicitly. So when I enter a job, I have my current job description, which I've often written for myself at this stage. But if they provide me a job description, we rewrite it with an understanding about what what KPIs I would be delivering to a company, what actual revenue value can I deliver to a company. Even if you're early in the stage, you can make that argument. You can say that you're going to deliver this many features or be involved in this many features, make a goal, make it concrete, and understand if you don't reach it, that you'll have an accountability to that, but you might also have the ability to change the network that you're sitting inside if it is not working for you. So don't sit inside of an unhealthy team and have metrics that can demonstrate if you are not the problem. Now, the reason why you really have to sit and look at this job description and what you are delivering and what your aims are is you are also going to write with your direct advisor in the first month of your arrival what your job description would be in a year if they got and you got both satisfactory returns and investment from them, right? So if my next goal is to go towards management or towards SRE, yes, perfect. I also, my last note on this, because this is so important, particularly if you're femme presenting, is they will always screw you over and put you in a front end role. I've literally had people that I've trained in cybersecurity for 2 years, then get put onto an internship project in Canada and they put them on front end because they look at their face and not their resume. So you state underneath your little bio on top, I am looking for roles in the domains of blank, blank, and blank, and welcome those opportunities. And you do not let yourself, or you have to know yourself and know your interests and know what you're not interested in doing and make that equally as clear as what you are willing to invest your time in. Final note, be very, very, very clear in organizing and keeping track of what your contributions are narratively. Keep a document, whether you're doing an internship or anything else, keep a document that explains what feature it was, what project we're working on, what the goal was and is, and what you did to get it done, or how you extended it, or how you would extend it. When I have people running these projects 3 months, I have them ask a couple of important questions because I don't want them to waste my time. I say, if you solved this problem, it's always machine learning or AI. If you solve this problem, who in your life would be personally impacted by its effect? And it's the people who can say, my grandma would be impacted, or it's this thing that I'm super passionate about, right? Or this visualization process that I really, really care about and think that if I can do this, I can communicate this to someone else. Until you have the accountability that your project is being done for a reason that you specifically value and can identify and can write down, then you can have stakeholders working with you. One final thing, I guess it is true. I mean, I was talking with someone earlier, and instead of saying like, you young people, they were just referring to people as olds, which in this case is fair because they're literally in a nursery home. But I thought maybe we hold back from olds. But it's very different to be jumping into computer science now or into the workplace because they are often hybrid or remote, and the more expert you are, the more specialized, the more likely you are to be remote. So you're no longer getting the interaction of having 20 experienced developers sitting around you and saying, oh my God, what's wrong when you make a sound? That's really helpful. You should find people in and outside of your organization that are willing to get on a Zoom call with you and pair program. This is how everyone learns. No one ever learns in a vacuum. You cannot go do 600 tutorials. It's not useful. Go and work with somebody who knows how to solve that problem in 15 minutes, watch them solve it, and then have them walk you through how they solved it. Learn with your hands on the keyboard, and then have the Git commits, put it in a project, put it on your resume, and make $150,000 for your first job. Done.
So much goodness. Not sure I can follow that. I like what Jay had actually mentioned about like some things are different when you're early in your career versus later on. Your non-negotiables actually rise, and they just like the list keeps growing the longer you are. Things like what Sal said, I will always be remote, and you have like the right to potentially do that when you are later on in your career. Some of the things that are sometimes hard to find, and I don't know how you kind of talk about finding that out, but I did hear from some wise person who once told me that when you're interviewing and you have that hiring manager, like really knowing how you can click with them and maybe finding out a lot more information about that manager, because that is the person who can make or break your career at that company. And as they say, people join companies, but they also leave or stay at companies because of that manager. That person is very, very, very important. So the more you can find out about that person and how you kind of match up is going to be key. So that one of those non-negotiable might be just like, who is that manager and what does that team look like? Pay really good attention to that fact as well. I have literally followed some managers in some of my careers, and
always done well with certain folks. And then there's like there's also like non-negotiable, like how do you work really well? You kind of have to know, are you the type of person who likes to work? I'm not sure anyone likes to work with somebody who's like a micromanager, but then some people might need a little bit more hand-holding when they're earlier on in their career. Maybe they just need to have that manager who's more like a mentor, who's going to give them the time that they need. So that might be something else that you want, especially if maybe they don't have like a setup in that company to actually get that mentorship done. But if you're early in your career, it might be good to know that there is a mentorship structure that can actually help you. So those are the kind of things that you could be asking earlier on in your interview. For me, I can say that there is no perfect company. Every company is different, but there are people within those companies who you can actually get to learn and bond with, who you can like tap on very much more. So sometimes it's not really about the company, but what is the culture, what is the people that you're going to meet, and just getting to know people really in your career, getting to network with folks inside the company, even people who have got nothing to do with whatever department or whichever group you're in, is really good. Like making sure you get those cross-functional relationships. You're in this team, get to meet people in other teams, get to join all of the different groups that they might have that will give you the opportunity to do that, because there are so many serendipitous moments where you just chat about what you're working on. Things in the company might change. If it's a big company, you get the opportunity to move into a new area. You talk about your work. There are so many things around career building that can just happen by just like talking to people. But coming back to the non-negotiable, depends. Early in your career, you don't get to choose for the most part, but you do everything you do with excellence, because that's when some people are just watching you. They're just watching you, and you never know what effect you have until somebody's like sponsoring you behind the scenes when you're not even looking. So every little thing you get to do, as Jay said, do it really well. Later on in your career, you have a longer list of like, I will not do this. I remember an experience where I was in a company where going through a pretty much of a tough time, but somebody told me like, take this tough time you're going through as like a good learning experience before adding another line item to the list of, I will not work in a company that is like this, or I will not settle for anything like this. And so those build over time with your experience, and it will match what your nature is. So.
I do just want to add in, I think the note on the networking is so key. Another thing, like even in like Linux foundations, like you could set up your own working group. In every corporation, it's also something that I say before I join. Are they willing? Do they have one already? Or are they willing to let me run a book club? Which means, right, because you want to get out there and you want to network with the professionals in that corporation that have the same interest as you and can build your career. So putting together your own learning system, right? This is the technical books that I'm getting through, right? So like I did one in a company, it was like the world's hardest like Kubernetes operators book, but I met everyone on the SRE team and I know exactly how that system works because we talked about the real system, right? So yeah, so finding ways to network effectively and also centralizing that networking. That's why going to these meetings like this are so important.
Yeah, there was a question that came in which said, how do you improve your resume, or what do you need to work on to be considered? Maybe you've put out your resume and you may be not getting callbacks. It could be like related to what's going on in the current macro economic conditions, but there are some like tips and tricks in terms of like resume writing. And I guess we can kind of like crowdsource some of that. I know for some of the resumes that I've tended to look at where I've given people advice before even getting to the resume, improving your resume could be just like behind the scenes, what are you doing in terms of, let's say, for example, if you're doing open source work, that's kind of like a good thing. What are the items that you can put in your resume that can help build it? And open source work is one of those things that you can do. But even within like a resume itself, it might be tougher, but you could, I always find like having quantifiable things like, I did this, this was the effect of what it is. Anything that has numbers on it is usually eye-popping is what I've heard people say. So I would say that that's one of the things that can help improve your resume, is just like being more about like what you did and quantifying it and what was the result is usually a good thing. So that's just to kind of kick it off. That's one thing that I would recommend.
Samia, you had a question. You have your hand up.
Yeah, so I had a question, not like related to my resume or job descriptions or like criteria, but more about how I can get experience to transition into roles that are generally kind of like closed off. So, for example, a lot of roles in machine learning, they require a master's or a PhD, especially if you go to model design. And I was wondering if there are ways to get more experience in these areas and get more experience working in these areas through open source or any initiatives I could know about that would help.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. So machine learning, you got to really demonstrate, again, it's like project management, you've got to demonstrate end-to-end construction of a pipeline, right? So I've got a couple of pipeline templates that I use, but more importantly with data science, it's a different skill set that you have to be very good at. And it's why I think everyone in ML is inherently smarter than people that do static architecture, because I'm very biased. But what you really have to be good at is building both an efficient pipeline, an observable pipeline, but also being able to identify the veracity of your pipeline. At the end, with the data that you consumed, did you get the answer that you really wanted? And there's lots of reasons why you can't. And there's also lots of reasons why you should not pursue a problem in the first place. Just the computation won't get you the signal you need. So feature engineering, data engineering is really the skill set that you would typically be learning in a master's, but you no longer need that. I think that's just essentially what people don't understand. Focus on getting a really good basic education around data and feature engineering, the signal processing around finding what the most valuable data is before you ever crunch numbers, and you will be employed. Yeah, but I'm happy to talk more on that later. So
Thank you.
Another thing I wanted to mention for the previous question on how to get noticed or getting your resume is the human factor. Like a lot of the recruiters have probably, somebody had mentioned that 5,000 people had essentially applied to this one position that LinkedIn was, notifying. They had asked me, do I apply? And I'm like, yeah, you apply, you take the next step. You find who the recruiter is, you find who the hiring manager, and like Jay said, you learn about your leaders and the folks that you're going to be working with. So reach out with a very small, LinkedIn post or LinkedIn message or whatever message. So kind of be like, hey, I applied to this. This is who I am. This is how I match with the mission, vision, and the core values of this company, and how I can move forward and be an asset to this application. So it's making yourself stand out in the crowd. So one thing I like to think of is Rihanna is one of my role models. Is what will Rihanna do if she wants to get X, right? She's going to go and she's going to get it. There's something that happened this weekend, and we were talking about A players. A players show up and just get it. They get what they want and they make no excuses around it. They are so hyper focused on that one object. So they go and get it. And, if the door's closed, they don't shut down and, say, forget this. They'll go and they'll find another opportunity, another door to break down. So that's my take on the resume piece. Andres?
Andres, I got your question here, Andres. If this is the same one you want to answer. Also got your resume in front of me, Suli. So what we'll do is hit Andres' question first. But if you mentioned that, it's okay. So we talk about your resume that I'm looking at right now. Amongst the group, because I got questions. Andres, you asked a very important question here. Is this the one that you want to ask the group now?
So I got two. Yeah, the first one, kind of that I listed is if you're the first person like working on this and no one else on the team has any experience in that, how do you handle that? And then the second one after that is, how do you prove that you actually like know something? So like if you know if you worked on a specific technology at a company, but you can't really, there isn't a record or just anything being like open source, then can you like show like prospective hiring managers or recruiters that you are actually like you can do the task.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here goes the thing, right? If you go to a company and you're interviewing at a company to be a developer or an engineer, whatever, right? And there isn't a technical portion of that interview for whatever reason, I'm not terribly sure that that's a company that should interest you. Now, the reason why I say that is because you gotta let it hurt, right? And the company has to see how you think. You may not even get that technical portion right, but if they can see how you think, how you went about solving that problem, what was the methodology you used? What, you're young in the game, so you're not expected to solve the problem. And this is a misconception that a lot of people have when they get into these technical interviews, that you have to be able to solve whatever it is that they have in front of you. No, they're not looking for you to solve it. You're too young in the game. They're looking for this to see how you think, to see what kind of questions you ask. Some of these places are looking to see if you have a growth mindset. It's one of the things you say, you know what? I might have to find a senior developer who's done that, or I might have to do some research, maybe go out into the network somewhere and find somebody who's done this before, get some knowledge back from them, and then see if, hell, it could even be, I may need to join the open source community, ask my questions to a larger audience, see if I can get some of that knowledge back, find a mentor somewhere. Answer could be anything, right? But the idea is you are constantly seeking information. No, you do not know it all. You're not supposed to know it all, but you can know it after you seek the knowledge, digested the knowledge, and then applied it for that purposes. Companies love to hear you'll go out and get your own information, bring it back and use it to generate revenue for the company. Because that's what you're doing at the end of the day. You're trying to generate revenue. Whole idea behind creating products and services. And if you think otherwise, I shrug. You have a service level objective to reach that's time sensitive, right? So all that being said, get your knowledge, bring it back to the first question here you have, which is very important. How do you handle something you've never done before? This is probably the only time in a young engineer's existence, if you find that you're in this situation, it is the best situation in the world for you to be. I'll give you one guess why.
Because you can kind of be creative in how you solve the problem.
You're damn right. Creativity. Creativity. You could be as creative and as wild and as out of your mind as you want to be. Let somebody tell you, let somebody else scale you back. That's fine, right? Your leadership scales you back. That's a business decision. But don't ever let that be something that inhibits your ability to be wild. What if we did this? What if we did that? Oh, let me research this. And it also make you smarter too. Let me research this. Let me research that. What if we brought that in? What if we brought this in? Now, the only drawback to that is don't be so creative that you don't put your hand on the keyboard and actually do something. Always have something to show. Always, when they come back and say, hey, how are we doing? Oh, we're doing, and you know what? I'm looking at this fantastic thing here. Look, hey, take a look at what I've done so far. I'm researching how to make this better over here, but this is what I put together so far. It's bare bones. The best thing you could ever do for yourself, this is a little trick. Not a lot of people do this. If you're caught in the mindset of I need to be more than what I am at this point in time, you don't have the ability to do this, but I would impress upon you to do this. In the beginning, be as belittling to yourself as humanly possible. You got skills, that's why you're there. But sit there and say, hey man, this is very bare bones right now. I don't, this is not going to cure anything. I put this together. Here, take a look at it. But this is what I'm also researching to put on top of it later. Let me know how you feel about this. So look at that real quick. Let me know how you feel about this. And every single time they come back, always have something else cooked. Always have something else cooked. I don't care what it is. I don't care how small it is. Every time they come back, have something else cooked. Do it quick too. Do something else, cook something else up real quick. while you're researching the bigger picture, right? That way, you're always showing advancement. You're always showing progress, not just progress of mind and the way you think, but also action. I had one, had a nice, well, she was a battle axe. I hate saying that, but boy, she put me through the ringer. One Miss Rena Mears, she was tough, the toughest lady I've ever worked for in my life. I had an issue doing something that I didn't understand. It was around connected cars. This was way back before, once again, before connected cars was sexy. I was working on connected cars, and I was working on privacy data, the data privacy revolving around connected cars. And I had to put together this package or something for a client or something like that. And she hit me with, I don't care how long it takes. What part of do it don't you understand? The do or the it? I was like, oh, I got my shoulders, my shoulder blades pinched back. I got my shoulder blades, my shoulder blades pinched back. I pluck it a little bit. I thought, oh God, I've been using that now for the last 15 years. It was the most wonderful thing. I've been using that for 15 years now. It's one, but the idea is do something. Always have something to show. Always be creative. Always be, hey, I'm doing this because it's yours. It's yours. Nobody's there. Nobody's done it. It's yours. Ask your questions. Go outside.
Yeah. Well, okay, hold up. So what Jay is describing, this is the reason why up until about 5 years ago, we literally wouldn't hire anyone who didn't have a PhD or a master's. Why? Because it's not the technical skill set you get, it's the communicational skill set and the ability to manage your own project. Second, you step onto a GitHub repo. What you're going to do is, oh my God, I have to tell you, I saw this once on a stranger's GitHub repo, and I don't know how many times you fall in love with a stranger on GitHub, but every once in a while I find a project I love and it happens. This one, I was just reading the documentation, and for the first time, I saw a stupid little section in the README, and it said, here's the resources that I use that help me to learn this. And it starts like, here's a link to the concepts, here's a link to a blog that I'm using, here's something that doesn't seem to work, but it's advised. And so you hold all of that and you make sure that the next, you identify and you structure it so that the next person or their manager who steps onto that document has an onboarding experience. Literally create an onboarding.nd document, right? Because as you're organizing that, you're structuring it in a way that you are allowing the human design, the cognitive design, because whether it's open source or closed source, it's not a valuable project until it is able to be managed and run by a team, right? Because you're there to create an asset that then can be maintained. Documentation is one of the things that the better my engineer is, the worse their documentation is because they just don't need it. So I'm working on a proprietary thing, which is basically like a better than cluster API for like supercomputing. And in order to do that, I go in and I step in on this experts documentation, of which there's like freaking none. And it's all very just like, looks like it works, execute this, and just like nothing works. So I went through and was like figuring it out, rewriting the documentation in my style, making additions so that it makes sense narratively as you going through and you understand the executions, right? So this is taking on a project, but then also going through and having enough detail and dedication to ask myself, why the hell is cluster API 3 turtles sitting on top of each other? Turns out that's because it's a reference to a philosopher who was talking about embedded like interfaces on computers, the same philosopher who came up with the original game theory. And so I then, for this proprietary little open source, like could be open source someday, I was like, if we ever do, I made a little logo for it, and I made it because it's unicorn API, unicorns stacked on top of each other, and explained why that was a reference, hearkening to cluster CD, which we've improved a model on top of, and why understanding the very philosophy of the iconography helps you to understand why this product exists and how you execute it. Like, get that good, fall in love with the thing that you're working on, and provide that kind of value in your documentation, make it interesting and engaging. Doesn't matter if it's like a super boring, like 3-unit data analysis pipeline. If I have made it compelling to the end user as to why they're using it or what the outcome is, I have done my job.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of piggyback on one thing Jay said even before he actually tried to answer the question. He talked about in the interview you are asked questions and they're not really looking for solutions. Sometimes they're looking for to see that you can actually think critically. So when you're given something, a new project that nobody else in the team has worked on, this is a great opportunity to demonstrate that you can think critically. And that includes, as Sal also said, going out and finding the resources, the networking, because they might not be within your team, but it is very likely that somebody somewhere may have solved something similar. So how well can you actually go out and do the research? Because many times in your career, you are going to be thrown in a situation where you are the first person working on it. And you would love to embrace that, because that's what's going to propel you further along in your career. If somebody can put you in a situation that you know nothing about, and you can find your way and swim, you are golden. So the sooner in your career you get to experience that, and whether you figure out, everything is a learning opportunity, whether you get it right or not, it's a learning opportunity. So don't worry too much about it. I think one of the things that I think has helped me, the way I do some of the things, like I used to do these iOS tutorials for a company called RayWenderlich.com. And the way you would pick something that you would work on is they tell you to pick something that you know nothing about. You go and you do research about it, and you come out by writing a documentation, a tutorial, something really clean. And because I've gone through that process so many times, I have no problem just diving into something that I don't know much about, because I figure out that whether the resources are there or not, I will be able to experiment and figure it out. So as Jay says, you should love these types of opportunities, because that's what's going to propel you to kind of like do all of these really breaking things in your career. So that is my advice.
Andres, did you get your question answered there?
Yes, thank you so much.
Because with this last few minutes, or what, we probably have more than the last few minutes, but Suli, we got some talking to do. Now I've been going at Suli's so what Suli has done is she has shared her resume with me, right? And resume, very simple, boom. But also there are links in the resume to her LinkedIn, her GitHub, and her personal website. Suli has a personal website. You don't often see that, right? Now, here goes the rub. I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds here, and I'm looking at this on one box, so I can't share it here. As a matter of fact, hold on one second. Do you mind if everyone else has this link, Suli?
No.
Couple of things. Who else did you give this resume to?
So I always edit the resume depending on the company. This was specific for Pinterest.
Okay. Yeah. So I was gonna say I hope this resume didn't go out to anybody else with Pinterest at the bottom, because that would be
no. It was definitely Pinterest for this one.
So here goes my 2 cents on a resume. First of all, I think the way you have outlined your LinkedIn page, we'll get into that in a second. I think that's solid at first glance. Excuse me, your personal webpage, I think that's solid at first glance as well. I think I appreciate you having all this, right? It makes it easier for a potential employer to take a look at it, and it shows that you're utilizing the skills you have towards advertising and promoting yourself. Okay. Now, you only have a very short period of time as an engineer, and your education isn't in engineering, which is not bad, right? You're allowed to change careers. It's good. right? What I noticed about your resume, this is from a business standpoint. So I'm going to give you a business look on your resume, not an engineering look. I looked at your resume from an engineer's eyes and I say, okay, she might have some skills. From a business perspective, I looked at your resume and I said, okay, tell me, I don't see, I see some percentages here and all that, but the percentages that I'm looking at here are not reflective of what they would mean to me as a business, right? Why would I care about, it says resulting in 20% increase in user engagement and improved overall user satisfaction. What does that number actually mean to the organization? So what does that actually mean? I don't know what that would actually mean to an enterprise as a whole. It sounds good. I just don't know what that means from a business perspective. Why would I care, right? So I want you to I want you to think with that. Also, with these jobs. Now, this is something I used to do when I was breaking into when I was a bank robber. This is how I describe it. When I was a bank robber and I was breaking into systems and doing all that, and that's the kind of work that I was applying for. One of the things I did was, I said, this is what I did for this company. This is what I did for this company. This was the result of what I did. This is what I found. This is how much money I saved the company as a result. Underneath, skills used, tools used, right? As an engineer, any engineer in any one of these positions, you want to understand, well, what skills exactly did you use for that? What was the methodology you used? Were there different methodologies? Especially since you're so new to the game, it becomes relevant, right? Because the only piece of education you have here is around business administration, management, and entrepreneurship. If I were to look at that school, Suffolk University, which I'm very familiar with, and look at that curriculum, and I say, okay, I don't see in that curriculum where they would have any engineering skills at all. But then I see these jobs here that you've done, and I see that you developed full stack travel agency app. Well, what does full stack mean to you? Right? Just it put down in here in skills and tools used. There are actual tools that are used that a full stack engineer uses. There are tools, right? So what tools are those? I see over here on skills, you have React, Git, SQL, MongoDB, Node.js, and Amazon WS. I know each of these. So if I'm an engineer and I look over here and I see each of these, I'm like, okay, yeah, the general, very general in your approach to what you've used to develop. Tell me over here, when you say full stack, you are a full stack engineer for Wayfair. Tell me the tools you used and tell me the skills you used and the tools you used with those skills. I want to know for each one of these jobs. I want to know, like, and you say from, I don't know, 2019, 2020, I'd want to see some months on there because that could have been December to January. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'd want to, because you have such a short time, you really do want to identify, this is how long I use these skills and these tools, and this is how long I use them for. Also, what I'd like for you to do for us is give us an idea of the positions you are applying for so that we can better guide the positions you should be looking for right now that will help you. You got to leapfrog, right? You got to play that game. You got to play the game where I want to learn this, so I should go after. So I should go work for a company that does this. These are the list of skills I have already, but this is the stuff that I've been learning, and I want to use these learned skills to help you build this. That's a story. Because you've got to use the STAR method in any situation you walk into, right? You know what the STAR method is? Have you heard that before? Situation, task, the action you did in that task, and the result of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you got to use that. And the way that you describe that is based on, now, what I saw here is you have a GitHub. site. But when I went to projects, I didn't see any projects that you either started or that you were working on. I saw a whole bunch of repositories, but I didn't see any projects. I don't care if it's creating a damn time clock. I don't care if it's creating a algorithm for developing, I don't know, labels for Campbell's soup. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care what it is. You are telling people my formal education is in the business, so I understand revenue generation. I understand promotion, the 3 Ps or whatever it is. I am long since removed from my MBA and all that, but there's the Ps. You know what I'm talking about. I'm removed from all of that, but I know how to generate revenue, and I know what that looks like from a business standpoint. Now I can translate what I learned on the business side, and I can say as an engineer, I can engineer and say, I know what would make a company money. And I can engineer and I can create apps, and then I can turn around and say, I created this app because it will do X, Y, and Z for your organization fiduciarily. That's not even a damn word, but I use it anyway. Do you see where I'm going? Right? You can build those parallels. Okay?
Yeah. So it's when you're like at every job or internship you have, that single page document no matter how long you're at a job, it's always a single page document. You continuously revise it with what you worked on, what value it was. If you can, at some point in your career, actually get on the metrics of like what your revenue value was, that becomes very key to your negotiation, because a business will never spend more than, like, you have to outweigh the value of your salary by 8 times or more. So if you have a $250,000 salary in cybersecurity, that's because you're protecting assets that are more than 8 times that, right? So it's really understanding that. And that's when I go to my negotiations, that's it. So a couple of things though on imposter syndrome. 2 things. I think I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to give you a thing that I literally use, a tool that I use. So the first conference I ever spoke at was years ago. I was still using the name Sarah before a book came out that was like, the Phoenix Project has the project manager named Sarah, and she's awful. And so I was like, okay, fine, now I have to change my name. So, but I went to this conference, Closure, which, by the way, if you want a job, just put that on your resume. People will hire you right away. And nobody working in Closure actually knows how that language works either. So like, you're not behind. But like, I go up there and then I've got a great talk. Then a woman comes on after me, about middle-aged, comes on, gives a great technical talk. And then someone says, I'm sorry, ma'am, I think you misinterpreted Paul's like intention for this function. It's a lispy language. So that's all we talk about. And immediately, instead of responding to that question, another person in the room, the person who invented the Closure language, the maintainer, just takes the microphone from them and says, what a stupid question, and walks away. Why? I didn't know this, because Paul and the woman on that stage were the same person 10 years apart. She had, in fact, invented the freaking function. She freaking knew how it worked, right? So that goes to show you, you can literally be the expert in the room, and imposter syndrome is not something that you should identify within yourself. It's something that you are feeling because you're in a hostile environment. So make sure, I tell people, whenever you're walking in a room, are you going to a room with wolves? Or are you actually going to a room with sea lions? Do they really want you to be there? Because everyone else in that room is freaking lovely. It's one of my favorite developer groups. I still hang out with them, but I don't put Closure on my resume because I am so sick of the recruitment emails. So the last thing that you really, I use for all of these, once you have a job offer in hand, and you do not want to be screwed, as you probably will be with your first job offer, you are going to use something called 81 cents. And if you need someone to sponsor you to pay for it, I will pay for it. Cost like 150, 250. I don't know now, it's changed, but that's always good, because what they go and do is say, for this field, for this position, we'll look at your resume, and we will also go talk to 30 to 40 experts working in that field in that city. We get all of the data from them. I always give my data when they ping out to me, like London-based cybersecurity, here's the offer they got. How does it compare to your offer? So it's good just to be networked in that generally. But I then don't have a stage where I say, I think I deserve this number. I go with a literal 35-page third-party report that cannot be argued with, because statistically, if you are femme presenting, you are significantly more likely to receive a no and no negotiation. Make no room for that. You have to come with the data. That is one way that I have safetied myself, and I've not had to have the conversation around a no, because the data doesn't allow them to do that.
Could you share that?
Yeah, I'll throw a link in there.
Suli, I just want to add this one comment. This is the last thing I'm gonna say out of my mouth today, because I spoke a lot. So Suli, the greatest asset you have, I hope you still have it. Hold on, so let me make sure. Let me make sure here. Let me take a look here again, because I didn't see when you didn't. Yeah, you don't have when you graduated from college. The greatest asset you have is the fact that you have a business degree. Now, if you ask me, when I tell my mentees tell me they want to study business administration, I say business administration ain't a damn degree. I don't give a damn what anybody says. Business administration is at best a minor, or at best something you add something on to that I don't get. That's not a degree, as you're finding out now, right? Hell, you wouldn't be trying to be an engineer if you could make money with a business administration degree. But that being said, business administration is your greatest asset right now, because you have the capability, or you should, of articulating, especially if your route was to ever go anything cybersecurity, anything information security related, using your engineering skills to do it. Security is a business function. It's not a technology function. It's a business function. Your greatest asset here is to be able to articulate how your worth to a company in dollars and cents, as Sal said before, but you utilize that language you used, that management and entrepreneurship language you used in your business administration degree to do it. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm done.
I really love that, because one of the things that I do before I start in hiring or before my interview is I understand the business, how profitable them are, what's their audience, what's their vision, their mission, their core values, what's the latest project, what security breaches have they had in the last couple of years, because it's not just coming in and working on a bunch of tasks. It's building towards a company's mission and making sure that whatever you do is meeting the objectives towards their success, because their success is your success. So you actually I've had to learn business and the pieces behind it. You're coming in from that. So I'm like goosebumps fired up right now from this whole conversation, but you can use that to come in and from a different approach, because all the engineers that they're going to be talking to are going to go into the technical details. I'm a generalist in cybersecurity. So when I enter the room, I'm entering from the business problem and how we're going to solve it from a business perspective, top level strategy, rather than the technical weeds of the works. So we're at the last 2 minutes. I wanted to switch up and ask the folks that are new, what did you get out of this call and how can we make this better? And I'll point at Andres. You start, and we popcorn.
Oh, I was affectionately gonna say like, oh, just have like a longer meeting. This was like super effective and kind of just learning just stuff that will probably take me a while to learn on my own. So learning it from others who've kind of been in that spot. I've been just taking down notes the entire time. So yeah. It was definitely helpful, and potentially another thing to improve on are like the sites or any specific resources to read or just kind of learn up, like 81 Cents or even the Phoenix Project book.
Okay, Phoenix Project, read that, but just do the audiobook, and it's not totally relevant anymore, but my newest obsession, I love this book so much. I just got like my new, like 2023, all the new books that came out. This one, you have got to read this. So this is like ostensibly, so right, a lot of like intelligence is like going out, you like pen test, capture things. This is the defense side, and this is like all of our best new techniques, and it's the newest one, and it's so beautiful. I love it. And the very end of this ends with like the one thing that no security professionals so far have been able to get us around. And it's literally, so I was talking to Sully about this before. It's like the PNP problem, syphoretics. So I'm trying to get like, read this and you'll literally understand the best techniques that we have as of 2023. And you're not going to find them online. They're just in this book. This book does cost money. It's so worth it. Read this book. Someone, anyone, everyone. That's what I want.
Thank you.
If you guys need to talk to any of us offline, get our information, man. I love this stuff. I live for this. This is,
Agreed.
I live for it. So by all means, get our information, find us, talk to us offline, hit the damn, if you don't have my LinkedIn, get my LinkedIn, find me on it. Let me be honest with you, the only way you'll find me, I don't ever use my actual name. Hold on a second, I don't use my government name.
You can also pose us questions on the DEI education group as well.
Yes. Did you want to popcorn? One more? You want to get one more feedback, or we're at time already?
Yeah, let's get one more feedback. Suli, since you're out of the mentorship program,
Oh, I love the conversations. I feel like I wrote a lot of notes too that I need to reflect it. One of the things is in terms of the best, like translate that in the resume so I don't know if it's cutting off, so I can be more noticeable. But there was like so many gems that I need to like make sure that I like look over, and I love the conversation. So thank you again, Sal, for connecting me to this group.
One, was this call recorded? Not recorded.
It was recorded, so you'll be able to access it on YouTube.
That makes it even easier. Can we somehow assign any one of these mentees maybe to what I would love for you to start doing is start collaboratively, all of you, working on a like blog post that talks about like your experiences, your findings, not necessarily this stuff, but like as you are like working through and engaging with the Linux Foundation, like what resources have you found important, what's been valuable to you, right? So as you're onboarding yourselves, do what I just told you. No one else has had this experience before, but next time they do, holy crap, make it easier for them, right? So anywhere you got blockers, that's a document. Welcome to real tech. It's just a lot of documentation where you get stuck and then occasionally something works.
So who's the author of that book, the cyber defense book?
Yeah, okay. So it's Tiffany Bao, Milland Tam, Cliff Wang, Cyber Deception Techniques, Strategies, and Human Aspects. So specifically, I use this because I've got to like run my, right? I've got like 15 steps to identify if a person's real or a bot. And if they're real, are they good or are they not? Do they know that it's a honeypot? I don't know, but I can know. This book's so cool. It's the cutting edge. It's my favorite. And I've only had it.
$157,000 books. You need to calm down with that.
Hey, what? No.
Not 1,000, 157,100.
Yeah.
That's out of the pocket. Pocket.
Yeah. No, but this is seriously like, this is, so if you want to get serious about it, and you know what, go find it and find a way. I'm sure you can find this online. But if you compare this book to, and then I know we're over time, but really, if you understand security, you lean on these two things. So these are the best two. This is like counter-offense intelligence, going in, trying to get into systems, pen testing, best pen testing techniques in the world, everything including Discord as of this year. And then this is the cutting edge of actually building, like if you're building a bank or anything else and you want these people not to get in, this combination. So yeah, it's like $300, but this is better than a freaking degree. If I had someone who had this education and nothing else, I could employ them.
And Suli, go Sox. All right, this is what I got the hat on for. Go Sox.
For the mentees, if you have any further questions, comments, or anything that you wanted to highlight on improving and what you'd like to see next, feel free to just reach out to me. And Suli, you're about to say something.
I know this is a mentee group, but how can I be part of it? Like, because I want to know like the next meetings and stuff. I think someone actually shared this now.
Oh, so this call isn't a mentee group. One of the open source projects, the Alpha Maker project, just hired 4 individuals for the summer. You're more than welcome to join us if you're interested in doing some Alpha Omega work and work alongside them. I have some additional work and projects. We could talk about it and see where you're interested and where you're going. And then this way I can get you working with them as well. So if you're interested in doing any software development, technical writing, video or content, whatever it is that you can assist and contribute and looking to move and grow, just reach out, LinkedIn or Slack. And I'll just send you my calendar link. You can just schedule a call with me.
And tell your friends, you guys got friends y'all went to school with that's trying to tell them that bring them on into this meeting too. Do all that, bring them on in here, tell them. We're here.
Yeah, and also have a little bit of fun with it, be creative. Like one of my mentees just went and did a zine all based around new art visualizations from vulnerability statistics. So it's still cybersecurity, but there was really interesting, engaged audiences and got them to understand really serious concepts. So if you want to, I think that's something that I'm personally really interested right now, extending your creativity and learning how to communicating really clearly and new and interesting ways, because README documents sometimes are getting old unless they have that information that contextualizes it. So.
Yeah, I shared my calendar, my LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out.
I think I have the inverse of your OSINT book. I have the extreme privacy, and that's the next book I was gonna kind of.
She's so piped up right now.
No, sorry, I have that one too. I haven't read through it yet. I'm trying to wait on that one because it's poof. But yes, it's so good. And my last note is because it's so interesting because this is all it's all stats on one side. On the other side, it's well, it kind of feels like you're being monitored if you do it on Chrome, but not on this. It just feels weird. So interesting. So that's it. That's the end. Cybersecurity is very cool.
Well, I'll keep an eye out for when this gets posted and probably have it on my LinkedIn. If you want to be tagged on it, let me know and I'll tag you. But great call. Any questions, shoot us a message on Slack. Reach out, schedule time with me on Calendly, and reach out to the other amazing folks we had on this call as well. Thank you, everyone.
Everyone. Good one.